hold on tight. The champ is here. Mikey is raising the roof. He is loving it.
Let's be real for a second.
Let's be real. I'm excited to be real today. Mikey, we're now explain yourself.
I don't hate Russell Wilson.
Todd hates T.Y. Hilton. I know why he likes Nick Foles. Do you know why? Because he scored 55 points against them in the championship game last year.
Running backs in Andy Reid's system is just fantasy gold mine. Sign me up there, man.
Yeah, and he's passing for 1,000 too, because his offensive weapons are shit.
Maybe. Oh my God. I can't even believe this, Eric. Todd comes out with some outlandish shit.
Come on.
But that one wins the night.
You deserve the torture of watching those games if you get them.
There's a problem with all those names. None of those guys are good.
Exactly. That's my point. That is 100% my point.
Hey. All I'm saying. Hey, I'm a very unique individual. You know, that's the.
I'm sure all the owners think so.
Oh, man. Just when I think that they're out, they pull me back in.
Hello, MHA owners. We just completed an interesting week 4. There are no more unbeatens left in the league. We have some fantastic and surprising performances to talk about. And we had a trade today. How about that? We can talk about the trade, and you guys can tell me what you think. So thanks to those owners who are tuning in. It seems like we're getting good numbers coming in. I saw we had 8 people tune into the podcast last weekend, so that's awesome. It's Tuesday, October 6th. We just saw the Yankees lose, so that's awesome. My podcast is already off to a great start. I'm Eric Lansing with Mikey Renault and Todd Diamond. How are you guys doing? Todd, you doing okay?
I'm doing all right. You know, like you said, one game at a time. But no, I'm good. After, Yankees will come back. But anyway, I'm good. Get the one loss out the way. Get the one loss out the way, and I think my team will be fine the rest of the way. But other than that, I'm fantastic.
Mikey, how are you?
I'm 1-3. How do you think I am, huh?
Based on the text you sent earlier, you seem pretty positive about things.
Yeah, that was some good numbers back, and I was like, all right, Mike is like, I can weather the storm here.
Look, I'm just trying to talk myself into some things, okay?
All right. It's all right.
All right. Well, we had some positive tests in the COVID world for the NFL. Moved some games around. We're not going to talk too much about it, but it was cool having 2 games on Monday night. You guys do you think they should make Monday night doubleheader every weekend?
Yes.
Yeah.
I should say, yeah. You like that?
Yeah. It just really depends on if they do it, you got to just make sure you get kind of marquee matchups too. I mean, obviously you don't know the records of the teams, but because if you're going to do that, you got to make sure everybody's going to tune in. Because it's like with Thursday night games. Sometimes you're going to get stinkers and sometimes you're going to get great ones. But if you do Monday night, which is prime time, got to make sure that both the matchups are good for people to watch. But hey, 2 Monday night football games, you ain't gonna get complaints out of me. So I like it.
For sure. It was exciting to watch. I like how it was at 5 o'clock instead of having to stay up late. But we can't complain too much here in Mountain Time. For those who are in the East Coast, they have it rough for sure. Games not starting till about 8:30. So and having to stay up late. So let's get into some news real quick.
To me, the most amazing thing about the news is that whatever goes on in the world, it exactly fits the number of pages that they're using in the paper that day. Interesting concept.
It's not a lot of news, and you guys can let me know if I missed anything, but perhaps the biggest news was the injury to Austin Eckler. He was carted to the locker room. He's not going to miss the entire season, but it's a serious hamstring injury. He'll be out 4 to 6 weeks. Nick Chubb, he hurt his hamstring and his knee and could be out for a while. I read in one place that it could be at least 6 weeks. So that's got to be tough for Cleveland, and that'll definitely help the value of Kareem Hunt. The Buccaneers tight end O.J. Howard, who had 3 catches and a touchdown on that Sunday game, he got hurt in that game and tore his Achilles. He'll miss the rest of the season. And I saw Laviska Shenault dealing with a hamstring injury. He could be back. He left in the 4th quarter. Any other injuries or news that I'm missing?
No, the O.J. Howard one. That was
Noah Fant, he's going to probably miss a week at least.
Really, Noah Fant. So I think bye week's got him, so he'll have to find a replacement. All right. Well, there you go. So not Armageddon weekend that we saw a couple weekends ago, so that's good. Let's get into the MHA standings. We mentioned no more remaining undefeated teams. NWA and Butterfingers both fell this past weekend. Todd, you took on the defending champs. You got 72 points from Brady, which gave you a fighting chance. 5 touchdowns from Brady is pretty incredible. 20 points from Aaron Jones. But outside of that, what happened to the squad?
Yeah, not having Deontay Johnson and Chris Godwin, two of my top wide receivers not in there kind of hurt a little bit. I mean, Andy Isabella, that was maybe kind of my doe of the week because I was kind of really debating between putting him in or Tim Patrick, and Tim Patrick ended up with 17 points. And, when I, did the alternate, scoring thing, if I would have put Tim Patrick in, I would have won. But again, we don't play the what ifs, but that was something there that, I thought, because I didn't think DeAndre Hopkins was going to be a game time decision, and Christian Kirk again wasn't sure if he was going to play. So I was thinking, oh, this is great. Andy Isabella's going to get all the targets. Great. He can weather the storm until Deontay Johnson comes back next week, and hopefully Godwin. So, but it didn't work out, and obviously a Monday night. Was hoping for a big game from Aaron Jones, but because obviously get that first touchdown.
20 points is a good game from Aaron Jones.
Well, better. Well, I needed a little bit more because I mean you got to.
Todd expecting
40 burger. That's what he's expecting from him. That's
Right.
unfortunate. Aaron had a big day from his running backs and Todd Gurley and Mike Davis. Obviously, Gurley played on Monday night and scored a couple touchdowns. 38 points between those two guys. For NWA, they look to put Kilgore Trout out to pasture. Kilgore Trout 0-3, and we mentioned NWA was 3-0, but Kilgore Trout got 20 whopping points from CeeDee Lamb, 24 points from Chris Carson, and they edged him by 6 points. The highest score of the week came from Cooper's Cousins, and unfortunately it came against our man here in the podcast, Hot Tamales. Cooper's Cousins, 178 points, only 32 from the QB Cousins, but 19 from Thielen, 18 from Allen Robinson, and 18 from Philly's defense. We'll talk about the rest of his team later on. 4 teams tied atop the standings at 3-1. Based on the points, it stands as such. NWA with 632 in first place. Second place, Lemonheads with 570 points. Cooper's Cousins, 550 points in third place. And Butterfingers in fourth with 540 points. 4 teams at 2-2. Eaton W's, Line Rip, Gonzo Cats, and Notorious CUP. And 4 teams at 1-3. Tamales, Bye Week, Belt Sanders, and Kilgore Trout. Mikey, you want to share that stat you sent us earlier today, showing your positivity for your tough season so far? Is that a no? You want me to keep going?
Well,
I think you should share it. It's interesting.
What? The teams are averaging 166 points against me? That's ridiculous.
Some teams, they play up to their competition.
I guess so. If I got to score 170 a week, I'm going to have a hard time the rest of this year, I tell you.
That's a lot of points. And the text I sent you was fantasy football could be unlucky, for sure. So Mikey's points against is 664, which is beyond anything. I think the second toughest one might be Eaton W's at 617. So that's a big difference. So good things coming for Mikey, we hope. Okay, guys, you guys want to talk about your top performers of the week? Mikey, you want to give me one?
Joe Mixon. It has to be number 1 on my list, putting up a 40 burger out of nowhere.
That could be a surprising performer of the week as well. Go ahead.
But yeah, I mean, the matchup with Jacksonville, I can't say that it wasn't that it wasn't a good matchup, because it was. But in a good matchup, I would expect Joe Mixon's ceiling game to be like 20 to 25. There's just no way that I could ever thought that he'd get to 40.
Yeah, I think. I mean, that's a surprise top performer. That's all in one right there.
Yeah.
I mean, biggest surprise is just 6 receptions, at least for me, because they were using Giovanni Bernard so much those first 3 weeks as a third down back that it was just kind of like, hey, all of a sudden, now it's all the Joe Mixon show. And he was coming in questionable with an injury to his chest. So put that on top of it is just like, wow.
Yeah, so Joe Mixon, 21 total points in the first 3 games, so then 40. The one difference between those 4 games is that they won the game. They gave the ball to him and 25 rush attempts. So maybe they should run with that going forward and trying to win football games. And I know with that young quarterback. I don't know if Joe Mixon was hampered before that, but I think the ingredient is right in front of him. Joe Mixon, who was, I believe, a second-round pick in our league, starting to show off here. Todd, do you have a top performer?
I go with your guy, Amari Cooper, 26 points. I mean, I think that's what Dallas was looking for. 135 yards receiving in that game, because obviously he's the number one guy. But I mean, obviously that game was a high-scoring game anyway. But still, Amari Cooper, I mean that's pretty good, especially in that offense. So good on you on that one, because obviously I know Cooper you drafted pretty high too. So to get a really good game out of him, because obviously there's a lot of weapons in Dallas. So good on you for Cooper.
Yeah, garbage time definitely helped out a ton in that. CeeDee Lamb's obviously taking a lot of targets. Michael Gallup, not a big. I think he had maybe like 5 targets in that game, so he didn't get a lot of the love. I heard something on a podcast I listened to that Gallup actually had the most plays run by a wide receiver, but still didn't get a lot of targets and any touchdowns. Mikey could tell you that, but so that's unfortunate. But yeah, so Cooper is doing well. He's had double digits in every game so far. He actually is the top scoring wide receiver in our league. There's that. One guy I'll mention is, how about Odell Beckham, who had 34 points, 73 rush yards, a rushing touchdown, 5 receptions, 81 yards, 2 receiving touchdowns, just 6 points the week before, 13 in week 2 and 4 in week 1. Mikey, is this something we should expect from Odell going forward?
No, it's completely a matchup thing. I told you, he's hot, then he's not. He's hot, then he's not. I mean, how many receivers have we seen run behind that Dallas secondary? He's exactly in the same spot as Tyler Lockett was last week. They each put up over 30 with 3 touchdowns apiece. So, yeah, whoever's playing Dallas,
just watch out. He'll have Indianapolis next week, Odell Beckham will. So maybe that's the not hot. So keep an eye out that for eating W's. Anybody else want to name someone? I could name some guys.
Melvin Gordon, 24 points. That was, especially on Thursday night. I mean, again, a lot of young wide receivers, obviously for the Broncos and everything like that. But Melvin Gordon looked like he, carrying the load a little bit and trying to do everything. So, I mean, obviously that's good for us as Broncos fans that, got some offense there. Once, I know Philip Lindsay is coming back next week, so we'll see how that cuts into Melvin Gordon's carries and catches. But he still catches a lot of passes, still catches a lot of balls. I mean, Rippon was definitely going to him, kind of was his safety blanket on Thursday night. So yeah, 24 points from Melvin Gordon. Take it. It's pretty good for I think that's a bye week. So Miles. So good for Miles.
Look, I gotta bring up Dak Prescott only because Eaton W's really needed to get 70 to kind of win that game. And he put up 86 points, which is just flat out ridiculous. And they were driving down the field trying to get a little bit closer late in that game. He could have gotten somewhere close to 100 points had he not thrown that pick at the end.
502 passing yards, 41 completions. And then the 4 touchdowns. So it's incredible. And that's why he felt like he could trade his Josh Allen. We'll talk about that later on. One guy, Dalvin Cook continues to be incredible. I said that Mark Andrews kind of back on the positive side. I kind of mentioned he was the worst performer the last couple weeks.
Was amazing. Didn't matter.
What's that?
Kittle was amazing.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter.
I was just going to say, in a losing effort, Kittle was everything that Mikey said he would be. Caught 15 balls on 15 targets. That's pretty efficient. 183 yards in the score. He was pretty incredible. He did that with the 2 backup quarterbacks. So I don't know if that changes when Jimmy G comes back, but Kittle's good. No doubt about that. All right, Todd, give me a worst performer of the week.
Yeah, Mo, that team sure did suck last night. They just plain sucked. I've seen teams suck before, but they were the suckiest bunch of sucks that ever sucked.
I go Tyler Lockett, only 3 points after a 32 last week. But obviously that game wasn't high scoring anyway. obviously, and those are always the matchups that you're thinking, oh, this is going to be great. They're going to put up all these, and usually those are the ones that are the ones somehow are difficult for whatever reason for teams to put up a lot of points. So Tyler Lockett only 3 points, so that was kind of the after being on the high pedestal with 32 last week.
Yeah, Mikey, what about you?
I'm going to toot my own horn here because I mentioned I thought he was done when we had the receiver podcast. T.Y. Hilton, every week with this guy.
What's going on with T.Y. Hilton this year?
He put up another, 4 points. Yeah, just not good at all. Not good at all. I don't know what his deal is, but he sucks.
I thought you were gonna say AJ Green, Mikey.
Look, I'm trying not to take a dump all over myself. I could have said AJ Green. I could have said Drew Brees. I had a lot of places to go on my team. You already took Tyler Lockett, so I'm going somewhere else. I'm going to where at least I was right on something, and T.Y. Hilton was the one I was right on.
Yeah. Would you ever think about, Mikey, at this point now, just with AJ Green to some degree, would you think about maybe dropping him, or just because he put up 1 point, one. I mean, there's got to be somebody better on the waiver wire that could put up more than one, because the way that offense is going now, Boyd looks like, obviously we talked about last week, is probably the number one guy there, and T. Higgins. So is the AJ Green, is that ready to go out the pasture yet, or are you gonna go my route? Stick with your guy.
I don't know. These decisions have not been made yet. Okay.
Mikey's keeping it close to the vest on AJ
right.
Green. Gosh, this has got to be the worst performer of the week. But how about Calvin Ridley? 0 points on 5 targets. He was close to a touchdown, but the defender made a great play. I know he was banged up coming in, but to have Julio out for majority of that game after he re-injured his hamstring, and with Atlanta having to play from behind most of that game, I don't know if he was hampered or not, but to have 0 points after the season he's put up, that's got to be super disappointing, especially for Belt Sanders, who was trying to keep up once I had Matt Ryan in that game. So that was kind of disappointing, but I expect better things. It was just one bad week. Maybe he'll be better next week in a favorable matchup. Any other worst performers you guys had? Had Kenyon Drake. It might be the bust of the year so far. 3 points, just 2 games of 10+ points. After he had 50 receptions last year, just 5 catches in 4 games. He's averaging a career low 3.8 yards per carry.
But yeah, and what to make it worse is he's wasted 2 against 2 really bad rush defenses in a row that he's done nothing against. That's really disappointing.
Tell me about it. Chase Edmonds is getting a lot of love. He's getting more carries. He's getting more catches. I can't be mad at his attempts. 16 attempts in week 1, 20, 18, and 13. But he's just not doing anything with them. They do have the Jets next weekend. It's in New York, so it's a little bit of a cross-country trip. But if he struggles there, because they have a pretty easy – I saw something today that they have the easiest schedule against rush defenses the rest of the year. So I'll keep an eye on that. I'm not ready to give up on him, but it's not looking good.
Yeah. And then how about Darrell Henderson, Todd? Huh? You want to throw some shade at me?
Yeah, I know. Darrell Henderson. Yeah, you're right, Mikey. You're right. I was like, oh, this is great. Darrell Henderson might be the guy. Yeah, 3 points. That is just, Adrian Peterson got more points than Darrell Henderson. Adrian Peterson's a million years old. And yeah, you're absolutely right on that one. I'll take my lumps on that one. That's Henderson. Oh, dear Lord. If I didn't have to play him this week again because Aaron Jones is on a bye, you're Mikey. You're absolutely right. Complete doo-doo.
Can you get your lips off of Mikey's butt for just a half a second so we can keep going here?
Sorry.
That's a whole sound by itself. You're right, Mikey. You're right.
Talk about practice.
I know Mikey feels good about it, but we got to move on. Surprises of the week. I had Tyler Lockett for Russell Wilson, who had 360 yards passing and 2 TDs. He didn't do too much, but the one I'll mention is how about Robert Tonyan? Robert Tonyan, I think that's the way they said it on TV last night. The Green Bay tight end, 28 points versus Atlanta, 3 touchdowns in that game. He has a touchdown 3 straight games, and he actually leads our tight ends in scoring.
Right. So let me tell you something. If anybody put in the work, that wasn't actually that surprising.
Okay.
Given that Atlanta is, and this is on average, and this was before last night, they were giving up almost 24 points a game to tight ends so far this year. Before last night. Now it's worse.
It's much worse now. And I was just going to berate Mikey for not picking him up. But I guess when you have George Kittle, then we all screw it up except for Mikey. So, yeah, he's got 13 receptions on 14 targets, 173 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Might be the waiver wire pickup of the week. He might be the number one.
He will be.
There's a bye, but tight ends are not wonderful right now.
True.
No, they're not.
All right. So the dough move of the week. Is it Todd?
You know, it's hard to say because there wasn't a lot that like really made like that much of a difference. So like Todd's one of them, but that's even hard because it's Tim Patrick. I mean, come on. It's like it's Tim Patrick.
Well, who else do you have as a candidate? Anybody else?
Um,
The only one that I saw, and take it for what it's worth, NWA falls by 6. Played Jonathan Taylor over DeAndre Swift. Taylor 7 points.
That's the right play.
That is the right play. I'm just saying. This is the other. Just calm down a little bit. This is the other candidate because there are no other candidates. But Swift had 13 points. It was a 6-point difference. It would have tied the game. But here's the reason why Todd's the dough of the week. You knew, Todd, did you have to work on Sunday?
yes.
Were you at work at 11 o'clock?
Yeah. No, I didn't go work
No,
till
you
noon.
weren't. So Todd, both of those, Hopkins and Kirk, both were blatantly told that they were both going to play. So, well, let me think of when did the Broncos played on Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe I can't get on you too bad for that then.
Yes, you can.
I can. Well, I mean, if Tim Patrick played on Thursday, though.
So what? Here's the deal. Not only did they say both guys were active, but both me and you during the podcast last week tried to explain that Andy Isabella was a mirage. That it wasn't believable.
Way to go, Todd.
You didn't listen. And now you pay the price.
You're right. You're right. You're right.
And Todd paid for it with the loss. Oh man. Let's go through the waiver wire week 4 update real quick. These for those who don't know what that is, it's just those who use their waiver on that Wednesday morning. And I always like to go through and see how they did. Cooper's Cousins picked up Justin Jefferson from Minnesota. Jefferson had 21 points in week 3. He put up 9 points, 4 receptions, 103 yards. Not terrible. I dropped Tariq Cohen for Rex Burkhead, just 5 points from Burkhead. Luckily, it didn't cost me in the end, but the offense is better with Cam Newton. And I did notice that in the red zone, they used Burkhead. So that was kind of helpful, although he's not getting anything inside. Most of the time, not getting much inside the 20s. That was mostly Harris, who had 17 carries. Butterfingers dropped Logan Thomas to pick up Mo Alley Cox, who caught only 1 ball, but it was in the end zone. So that salvaged his day. Mikey continues his streaming defense dominance, dropping Indy's D to pick up the Rams D, and he got 12 points from them. Good job, Mikey. CUP drops Drew Sample to pick up T. Higgins, the rookie wide receiver in Cincinnati. After scoring 19 points 2 weeks ago, he had 8 this past week, 4 receptions for 77 yards. And CUP also picked up Indy's kicker, Rodrigo Blankenship, and he did well, putting up 14 points. All right, so time for kind of our random thoughts before I let you guys talk about it. I made a trade today. Between it was one Josh for another Josh. I sent Chargers running back Josh Kelly to Eaton W's for Bills quarterback Josh Allen. Kelly could be the starting running back for Los Angeles after Eckler went down with that injury. Eaton W's needed running back depth after two subpar outings from Matt Ryan. I thought it might be worth trying to see. Josh Allen's MVP season continues. Hard to ignore his first 4 weeks, 64 points, 65, 62, and 53. Eaton W's had Dak, so he was willing to part with them. Now, Allen did have an incredibly easy schedule the first 4 weeks, but you guys help me or just grade the trade. What do you guys think of the trade?
I mean, again, if Allen can at least put up half of those numbers for the rest of the season, then A+. I mean, because here's the thing with Josh Allen is you're getting the rushing yards. You're not getting that with Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan, you're just hoping he's going to throw. But we've seen enough times where Matt Ryan makes throws where you're just like, oh, why did he throw that ball? Because there's a good Matt Ryan, there's a bad Matt Ryan, and bad Matt Ryan, pretty bad. I mean, as I had it when I had Matt Ryan on my team, I experienced that. But as of right now, A+. If Josh Allen can get you close to that for the rest of the season, I mean, hey, putting up 66 or plus points every week, yeah, we'd love that, but probably not going to happen. But you can at least get close to it, A+.
Wow, A+.
Yeah, I mean,
Teacher Todd Diamond says A+. Mikey, what do you think?
It's difficult. I mean, Josh Allen, yeah, he's been really good so far, so I can't deny that that's been true. But I guess from your perspective, if you think you can handle it, because you're giving up a guy that probably will be a starter, and I guess depending on how long McCaffrey's out, that could hurt you by giving that up.
Yeah, and I thought about that too. The thing about that we always talk about on this show in terms of Josh Allen is his completions are never super high. He's not going to have a 41 completion day, kind of like Dak Prescott. But he's done all right in that category, and he's been more efficient with his touchdowns. He's been a little more accurate. So in terms of the thought process of missing out, obviously I looked at the schedule ahead, bye weeks coming up. I'm not giving up on Drake just yet. I'll have James Conner back. He had his bye. I don't have to worry about that. So in terms of running backs, it could be anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks from Christian McCaffrey. And I really didn't see a place where I didn't see a place where I would start him unless he started showing signs that he's been doing great. So I kind of thought, let's see what happens with Josh Allen. And if McCaffrey comes back in the next 2 to 4 weeks, I should be okay. So, and from what I've seen, Josh Kelly the last couple of weeks, he hasn't been incredible. His first 2 weeks were pretty good. He does have a fumble in each of the last 2 games. Justin Jackson will be there to eat up carries too. I mean, I wanted to see if Josh Allen's MVP season was real, and if he can put up, he's got 8, 10, 12 touchdowns and 1 pick, and then he has 3 rushing touchdowns on top of that. So there's a lot to like about him. I could start him next week. The one thing I'll say that kind of scared me a bit about Josh Allen is here's his playoffs: Pittsburgh, Denver, New England.
It's brutal.
So
it's brutal.
I wasn't willing to give up Matt Ryan. Not that was a part of the conversation, but knowing I was going to keep Matt Ryan, that also kind of helped with the trade. Like if I was going to have to get rid of Matt Ryan, I probably wouldn't. But obviously I looked at it at every angle. Had to work a little later this evening because of it, because I had to catch up on some work because I looked at it. But yeah, so grade the trade, Mikey. Todd says A+. You say C. That's the point of the game. I
give it a B. That schedule is pretty brutal down the stretch. I mean, even the game before that is at San Francisco.
Yeah.
That's some pretty brutal stuff.
But as the fantasy season goes, you also have to play for next week. And
that's
so
right.
I'm trying to win. Got to keep up. I may not even make the playoffs if I lose the rest of my games. So Any other random thoughts you had from this past fantasy weekend? I'll say something. Justin Herbert, better fantasy quarterback. I hope they come in.
Yeah.
I know they can't.
Yeah, I don't know how they go back to Tyrod. I just don't know how.
Well, you know why
Yeah.
they go back to Tyrod? Because they stabbed him in the chest into his lung, and they kind of have to be like, sorry, we did that. We know this was your starting job. It's our fault you're not playing right now. So they kind of have to, unless they give him some sort of extra money in his account. I don't know. But it's hard to yell at a guy, and it's when it's the team's fault. It's one thing if you play your way out of starting. It's another where the team took you out of commission, and then they have to ask you to come back. So Herbert just looks like a decent quarterback, and he's still learning. But he had 48 points against a pretty tough Tampa defense. So I hope he stays in. But that's just one note I had about this past weekend.
Yeah. I mean, again, go ahead, Mikey.
I would say is pay attention, play all your guys against the Falcons and Cowboys.
Yeah.
You don't know that by now.
Anytime that those two teams are involved in something, I mean, it starts to get nuts. I mean, you look at all the Dallas guys, 86 from Prescott, and Elliott had 16, and Lamb had 20, Cooper had 26, even the tight end had 15, and then all those guys on the Brown side, the 34 from Beckham, Landry had like 15, you had like 20 plus from Kareem Hunt. It's like everybody goes off. And the same thing happened with the teams playing against the Falcons. So
does that mean we have to start all our Giants next week against Dallas?
yes.
Yes. So everybody should be excited about starting Golden Tate and Sterling Shepard. No, he's out, right? Slayton. So Darius Slayton and Evan Ingram.
I'm telling you right now, it's not Tate. It's Darius Slayton.
All right. I think Aaron's rolling. I think Aaron's got Slayton, so start for him. So Atlanta is playing Carolina, and so if someone needs a quarterback in an emergency situation, Teddy Bridgewater's out there. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Is the guys to pick up. But yeah, for sure, Atlanta's defense is terrible. Dallas defense much worse. Plenty of opportunities there for sure.
Yeah.
Todd, did you have something? You were saying something initially.
I was just going to say, once again, another, it just proves again that, the quarterbacks are putting up all these points, but that doesn't always mean guaranteed a victory. I mean, Brady put up 72 points, and I still lost.
Going back to Todd's team again.
I know. I'm just saying in general, because we saw it last week with Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes put up 78 points and Alma. So it's kind of it just goes back to just showing you still have to have a complete team around you to do it. I mean, it helps obviously. Yeah, I mean, you're not gonna sniff it. 72 points, but I still no, I don't want no. You gotta you still have to have a complete team because you'd rather at the end of the day quarterback scores 48 points, but the rest of your team has, in the double digits, you're going to win. But, it's just the way it kind of goes. So again, that's just the trend now. That's the trend. That's what it is. So it's what it comes down to. So we'll see how it goes. Did y'all put anything for waiver wires or anything? Any players
we don't talk about that on this show.
Sorry. I'm just saying, did you all put in did you put in any claims for any players?
Maybe. We don't do that on this show.
We don't do that on the show? Okay.
We're trying to win. If you want to talk about yours, that's fine. But, the rest of us, we're trying to we don't want to let people know who we want to pick up, who we're thinking about. Now, they probably won't listen to this until tomorrow morning. But you never know. You could have that ambitious owner. You're like waiting for it to come up. I try to put it up the same night. So if they get it before midnight or whatever the time is, it processes at 2. But I don't know if there's like a deadline when you have to put them in. But no, you're not going to hear that from us.
I don't want anybody knowing that I'm trying to get Brett Rippon, okay?
Yeah, I mean, sure. That's great.
Brett Rippon.
So you guys can think about any last thoughts as I go through the matchups for this week. So 3-1 Lemonheads will take on 1-3 Kilgore Trout. Hot Tamales trying to get back into the win column against 2-2 Notorious CUP. Oh, yeah. Mike shaking his head, yes.
He's got a mass unit.
Yeah, he's dealing with a lot of injuries. He's got the lowest point total.
Too.
Yeah, so he's got the lowest projected point total out of this point. I don't know if he's filled his team in, but Butterfingers 3-1 will take on 3-1 NWA. Man, it's too bad that wasn't a 4-0 versus 4-0, but that'll still be probably the best matchup, or on paper the best matchup for this week. 1-3 bye week. We'll take on 2-2 Gonzo Cats. Cooper's Cousins is 3-1. You're welcome, Dylan. He'll have to take on 2-2 Eaton W's, who's rolling right now. 2-2 Lion Rip will take on 1-3 Belt Sanders. So there you go. The top waiver for this week is Gonzo Cats. We'll see what he does with that. Bye week number 2, Belt Sanders number 3, NWA 4th, and Lion Rip at number 5. So any last words before we end this podcast, gentlemen?
No.
Yes. Here's what I'm going to say, because since I gave you that stat about the 166 points, if CUP scores 170 against me this week, I may not show up on the podcast next week. How about that?
Mike is just going to give it. He's got a full roster right now. He's got Carson Wentz, DJ Shark, Terry McLaurin, Austin Eckler. Well, obviously Eckler's not going to be playing. Miles Gaskin, Hunter Henry, and A.J. Brown. He's got Galladay on a bye, Stafford on a bye, and he's got Preston Williams, N'Keal Harry, Cam Akers, who's injured. He may play, T. Higgins, and Giovanni Bernard. Woo! That's a rough team. It's not terrible, but not having Eckler is going to be pretty tough for him. All right, gentlemen. Well, another week in the books. Going to week 5. I think people are starting to feel it a little bit as we get closer. Week 13, as we get closer and closer to the playoffs. So thanks for joining us on the MHA podcast. For Todd Diamond, Mike Uberno, I'm Eric Lansing. We'll see you next time.